What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So the college football season officially kicked off last weekend with week 0, but this weekend, week 1, starting on Thursday, we have a full slate of games, Thursday through Monday through Labor Day, full slate of games. So it is the beginning of the college football season, so I wanted to go through my Big Ten conference standings predictions and wanted to give my college football playoff bracket predictions and who I think is going to win the Big Ten title and who is going to win the college football playoff. But before we jump into both of those, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there below for more college football content coming throughout the season. Obviously, more Michigan State content as we move through the season as well. So I'll start out with my Big Ten conference standings predictions. Put the graphic up here on the screen. Pretty self-explanatory at the top. Pretty much sure this is probably everyone's top 2 teams. Got Oregon at 11-1 and Ohio State at 11-1, both 8-1 in the conference. Obviously, they play in the middle of the season in October in Eugene, and I got Oregon winning that game, but I got Ohio State getting them back in the conference championship game. More on that once we get to the college football playoff bracket. But I think these are clearly the 2 most talented teams in the conference, and like I said, I think their matchup in October is going to be incredible, and I think we'll get that rematch there at the beginning of December. In 3, kind of a surprise team, I think, for most people, USC, but I'm a Lincoln Riley guy. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of his, and, you know, rightfully so. He's had some incredible teams, incredible offenses, obviously the countless Heismans he's had, and hasn't been able to get over the hump in terms of the college football playoff or competing for a national title. But I like them this year. Obviously, first year in the Big Ten. Schedule is, I think it's manageable for them. But I got them 10-2, 8-1 in the conference. At number 4, I got Penn State, 10-2, 7-2 in the conference. When we get to the college football playoff bracket, you know, they're definitely in that conversation, and, you know, they would have made a handful of college football playoffs if it was a 12-team playoff over the last decade or so, and I got them competing towards the top as well this season. At number 5, Iowa, a team a lot of people are high on this season, and rightfully so. Their schedule is very, very manageable. And obviously, they're going to have one of the top 2 or 3 defense in the conference and, you know, probably a top 10 defense in the country, as they always do. But me personally, I'm just not, and I'm not even saying this coming from a Michigan State stand, whatever you want to say, I'm just not convinced Cade McNamara can get this team 11 wins like they think. I still think 10 wins is probably overselling a little bit. I think 10-2 is probably where they land, but I would not be surprised if they end, you know, 8 or 9 wins. But I think the schedule really helps them to getting to that 10-2 and 7-2 in the conference. At number 6, we have Michigan. I have them 8-4, 6-3. Now, I will say, like, some of these teams, I kind of tried to vary here, you know. I think 8-4 is, like, the floor for Michigan. They have a really, really tough schedule. Everyone got on them for years about playing a high school level schedule in terms of their non-conference. Well, this year, and especially with the Big Ten expanding, they have a loaded schedule. And it doesn't help the fact for them that they are replacing so much production on offense, on defense. They obviously still do have standout players on the defensive line, in the secondary. They still have a really good running back in Donovan Edwards as well. I think 8-4 is the floor for them. I think there is definitely still a possibility they win 9-10 games. I don't think they'll be in that top 3, though, in the conference. I don't think they're beating Ohio State. I don't think they're beating Oregon either. I got them losing to, I believe it was Oregon, Ohio State, and USC, as well as Texas in that non-conference. At number 7 are Michigan State Spartans here, 8-4, 5-4 in the conference. Now this as well, we kind of go 2 extremes, and I promise you I'm not saying this from a homer perspective. But I think 8-9 wins is the ceiling for this year's Michigan State squad. So 8-4 is pretty much everything going right for them. I think the floor for Michigan State is 6 wins. I don't understand the over-under being at 4.5. I really don't get that. I don't understand people thinking 4 to 5 wins is, you know, what they'll be at this year. Could, obviously, you know, you knock on wood for no injuries to happen, but you can say that with any team. If their star quarterback gets hurt, star running back gets hurt, or a tandem of injuries happen, then teams are going to struggle. But you don't want to go into a season, you can't go into a season predicting injuries. So Michigan State, I think this is pretty optimistic for the team, 8-4. I think 8-4 would be an incredible first year. But I think people are really underselling the talent that was on the roster over the last 2 years. Obviously, disappointing years, 5-7 2 years ago, and then last year 4-8. I mean, really underselling the talent on the roster. You even heard transfer quarterback Caden Hauser say in a podcast, and I just paraphrase a little bit because I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he was basically saying, like, we had a lot of talent on that offensive side of the ball. We just had no idea how to use it, and we weren't utilizing guys in the right way. I think that's true, obviously, with Coach Jonathan Smith coming over for Oregon State, with Aiden Childs, who was top one, if not top two at worst, transfer quarterback in the portal this offseason. You got Jack Velling, top tight end pass catcher in terms of touchdowns last season. You got some solid interior offensive linemen coming in. Tanner Miller from Oregon State. Luke Newman going to fill in at that left guard spot, coming over from Holy Cross. I think 8-4. I got them, and I know I'm going a little bit deeper on Michigan State here, but their first 4 games and their last 4 games, winnable games. My 8-4 though isn't they're winning the first 4, winning the last 4, losing the middle 4. No, I do have them starting 4-0 though. That beginning of the season, Maryland is going to be a tough test, and I think Boston College is going to be a tough test on the road as well. I got them losing one of the last 4 games, but I got them stealing a win against Iowa at home for homecoming in the middle of October. So I got them 8-4, 5-4 in the conference, 7th in the conference. At number 8, I have Nebraska. Everyone's high on Nebraska. Freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola coming in. I got them at 8-4, 5-4 in the conference. I think they're going to have a pretty good year and have a chance to win quite a few games. At number 9, Wisconsin, 7-5, 5-4, second year for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. Still getting the ground rolling there, but I think they're going to have a solid year. At 10, Rutgers, 7-5, 5-4. Washington, losing so much this year, basically replacing that whole offense. Obviously, new coach coming in, new system, everything. I got them still 7-5, 4-5 in the conference. Maryland, 6-6, 3-6 in the conference. 13, Northwestern, 6-6, 3-6. Arguably, probably the biggest surprise team from last year in the Big Ten. At 14, UCLA, 4-8, 2-7. First year head coach, still transition period, transitioning into the Big Ten. At 15, Minnesota, 4-8, 2-7. Losing defensive coordinator Joe Rossi to Michigan State for us, I think is going to be big for them on that defensive side of the ball. At 16, Illinois, 4-8, 2-7 in the conference. At 17, Indiana, 4-8, 1-8 in the conference. Again, another new coach there in Indiana. And at 18, Purdue, 2-10, 0-9 in the conference. So that's where I have the Big Ten standings sitting. So as I said, and as I move into the bracket now, the college football playoff bracket, Oregon, Ohio State. I got Oregon 1 because they'll win that regular season matchup against Ohio State. And then at number 2, Ohio State. So they'll be facing off in the Big Ten title. And as we shift over now, new graphic to the college football playoff predictions. So I'm going to go through the seeds first, then I'm going to go through each round and give my predictions there as we work towards the national championship game. You can already see it. 1 seed, Georgia. 2 seed, Ohio State, because as I mentioned before, I have them beating Oregon in the Big Ten title game. 3 seed, Clemson, winning the ACC. Probably a surprise team there. I know a lot of people are high on Miami, Virginia Tech, even Georgia Tech after that big upset win in week 1 over Florida State. At 4, I got Utah with Cam Rising coming back at quarterback, very experienced there. At 5, I have Oregon. 6 seed, Texas. 7 seed, Notre Dame. 8 seed, Ole Miss. 9 seed, USC getting in. 10 seed, Miami. 11, Alabama, and 12, Liberty being the group of 5 team that gets in. For Liberty, I think it's their schedule that helps them get in, that to stand up with some of the other group of 5 schools, Boise State and, some of the other ones that some people are putting in this 12 seed here. So in that first round, and this is the campus games that these lower seeded teams will be hosting. So the 12 versus 5, I got Oregon over Liberty. 9 versus 8, Ole Miss over USC. 11 versus 6, I got Texas over Alabama. And 10 versus 7, I got Notre Dame over Miami. Moving to the quarterfinals, 5 versus 4, I have Oregon over Utah. 8 versus 1, I got Georgia over Ole Miss. 6 versus 3, Texas over Clemson. And 7 versus 2, Ohio State over Notre Dame. In the semifinals, I got the 5 versus 1 matchup, Georgia beating Oregon. And the 6 versus 2 seed, I got Ohio State over Texas. Should be a really good matchup there. Obviously, Quinn Ewers' story there. Both those games should be incredible matchups, and I really think those are probably the 4 best teams. Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. Right now, I'd probably say that's the 4 best teams, but obviously the top 4 seeds getting the bye. 3-seeded Clemson could really be ranked like 7th or 9th in the country. but they could get that 3 seed because they won the conference. Utah could be like 12th, but they win their conference, so they get that 4 seed and get the bye. Then as we move down the national championship, as I'm sure most people probably have as well, 1 versus 2, Georgia, Ohio State, and I got Georgia winning this game. So Georgia getting back to the top and winning another national championship for the Bulldogs and Kirby Smart. So that'll do it for this one. That's my predictions, Big Ten standings, college football playoff bracket predictions, who wins the national championship as well. I think there's some good value on some of these picks as well. If you do watch my Michigan State breakdown for previewing FAU, I do talk a little bit about season predictions for them, and 8-4, I have them locked in at 6+ wins for the season. Some good value there. Some other wins, you could get plus value for Michigan under 8.5 wins as well. Something to watch there. USC, I think they're at 7.5. If you can get them over as well. Rutgers, I think over under at 6.5. Right now, I got them at 7, so could see some good value there as well. But that'll do it for this one. Obviously, a ton more content as we move in to week 1 as well. And excited to talk about college football again, back in all of our lives this weekend, fully with a full slate of games. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.